lap is a 1:46.822. Dave B racing in turn 8, heel is 4th. Best lap is a 2:52.313. Toddy Mustang in turn 9 is P5. Wiremew is first. Fireball is P4. Dave B racing in inner loop is 5th. Best lap is a 1:47.967. Toddy Mustang is P3. Best lap is a 1:46.746. Dave B racing from New Zealand in turn 8, heel is P5. Jason Short is P2. Best lap is a 1:46.293. Fireball in turn 2, Essies is P4 on softs. Toddy Mustang in turn 4, Essies is 3rd. Jason Short in turn 7, toe is P2. Toddy Mustang in turn 7, toe is P3. Fireball in turn 10 is P4. That Canadian guy from Canada in turn 9 is 7th on mediums. Dave B racing is P3. Best lap is a 1:46.613. That Canadian guy in turn 2, Essies is 6th. Best lap is a 6:36.798. The race dictator from New Zealand in turn 10 is 7th on mediums. Toddy Mustang in turn 8, heel is P4. The race dictator is P7 on mediums. Best lap is a 12:32.502. Wiremu in turn 5, outer loop is 2nd. Jason Short in turn 6, laces is P1. Best lap is a 1:45.748. Fireball from New Zealand in inner loop is P5. Toddy Mustang is P4. Best lap is a 1:46.633. That Canadian guy is 6th. Best lap is a 1:48.611. The qualification session is at Watkins Glen in Watkins Glen, USA. Wiremu in turn 1, the 90 is P1 on mediums. Toddy Mustang from New Zealand in turn 3, Essies is 5th on mediums. Chris Budd from New Zealand in inner loop is 6th on mediums. Fireball from New Zealand in turn 4, Essies is 7th on softs. The race dictator from New Zealand is 3rd on mediums. Fireball in turn 7, Toe is 6th. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Wiremu is second. Best lap is a 153.580. 4.685 off pole. Wiremu is up 7.18 in inner loop. Wiremu is up 6.47 in turn 7, toe. Wiremu is up 6.91 in turn 9. The race dictator is second. The race dictator improved his P2 with a 147.794. 1.794 off pole. The race dictator is up 0.49 in turn 4, S's. Jason Short from New Zealand is first up 0.14 on softs. Jason Short is up 0.31 in turn 8, heel. The race dictator is third up 1.16 on mediums. The race dictator improved his third with a 146.889. 0.889 off pole. Dave B racing from New Zealand in turn 1, the 90 is P4 on mediums. Chris Butt is 8th. Dave B racing in turn 4, S's is P5 up 0.11. Toddy Mustang in turn 5, outer loop is third up 0.20. Toddy Mustang is up 0.85 in turn 8, heel. 5 minutes remaining in the session. Toddy Mustang improved his P2 with a 146.153. 0.153 off pole. That Canadian guy from Canada in turn 1, the 90 is P5 on mediums. Best lap is a 146.862. 0.862 off pole. Jason Short in inner loop is P1 up 0.19. Best lap is a 146.000. Jason Short is up 0.58 in turn 7, toe. Jason Short is up 0.41 in turn 9. Jason Short is provisional pole with a 145.525. Dave B Racing is 7th up 0.46. Dave B Racing improved his 7th with a 147.048. 1.523 off pole. The Race Dictator is 5th up 0.16. That Canadian guy in turn 5, outer loop is 6th up 0.22. Dave B Racing in turn 5, outer loop is P7 up 0.44. The Race Dictator in turn 7, toe is P5 up 0.16 on mediums. The Race Dictator is up 0.30 in turn 9. The Race Dictator improved his 4th with a 146.731. 1.206 off pole. Chris Butt is 8th up 0.58. Chris Butt improved his P8 with a 152.666. 7.141 off pole. The Race Dictator in inner loop is P5 up 0.30. Fireball is 3rd. Fireball improved his 3rd with a 146.023. 0.498 off pole. The Race Dictator from New Zealand in turn 7, toe is P5 up 0.43. The qualifying session is now in overtime. The race dictator is up 0.32 in turn 10. The race dictator improved his fourth with a 146.204. 0.679 off pole. Chris Butt in turn 9 is P8 up 0.38. Chris Butt improved his P8 with a 151.560. 6.035 off pole. Broadcast bot is P20. The race session is at Watkins Glen in Watkins Glen, USA. Jason Short is first. Toddy Mustang from New Zealand is second on mediums. 20 minutes remaining in the session. Race start. The race dictator from New Zealand is P3 on mediums. The race dictator passed Toddy Mustang for second. Toddy Mustang is P3. Toddy Mustang is now P2. Fireball from New Zealand in turn 5, outer loop is third on softs. Dave B Racing from New Zealand is P4 on mediums. Toddy Mustang is third. Dave B Racing in turn 9 is P4. Toddy Mustang in turn 11 is third. Dave B Racing in turn 1, the 90 is P4, 0.3 behind Toddy Mustang. Toddy Mustang in turn 4, Essies is P3, 0.3 behind Fireball. Dave B Racing in inner loop is 5th, 0.2 behind Wiremu. Toddy Mustang in turn 6, Laces is P3, 0.5 behind Fireball. Dave B Racing is P5, 0.5 behind Wiremu. Toddy Mustang in turn 9 is P3 on mediums, 0.5 behind Fireball. Wiremew is 4th on mediums, 1.0 behind Toddy Mustang. Toddy Mustang in turn 1, the 90 is P3. Best lap is a 146.683. 0.654 off the fastest lap. Wiremew in turn 4, Essies is P4, 0.9 behind Toddy Mustang. Toddy Mustang in inner loop is P3, 0.6 behind Fireball. Wiremew in turn 6, Laces is 4th, 1.0 behind Toddy Mustang. Toddy Mustang is 3rd on mediums, 0.5 behind Fireball. "15 minutes remaining in the session. Wiremew in turn 9 is P4, 1.4 behind Toddy Mustang. Toddy Mustang from New Zealand in turn 11 is P3, 0.4 behind Fireball. Dave B Racing in turn 2, Essies is P5, 1.4 behind Wiremew. Toddy Mustang is 3rd on mediums, 0.5 behind Fireball. Dave B Racing in turn 5, outer loop is P5. Best lap is a 146.998. 0.969 off the fastest lap. Toddy Mustang in turn 7, toe is P3. Best lap is a 146.128. 0.099 off the fastest lap. Toddy Mustang lost 4th to Dave B Racing. Wiremew is P3, 0.4 behind Fireball. That Canadian guy from Canada on lap 4 is P6 on mediums, 0.8 ahead of the race dictator. The race dictator in turn 9 is P7, 1.0 behind that Canadian guy. Fireball is 2nd, 1.0 behind Jason Short. Dave B Racing on lap 4 is 3rd, 0.2 behind Fireball. Fireball in turn 1, the 90 is 2nd, 0.4 behind Jason Short. Dave B Racing in turn 4, Essies is P3, 0.6 ahead of Wiremew. Fireball in inner loop is second, 0.5 behind Jason Short. Fireball was 2.6 faster last lap. Dave B racing in turn 6, Laces on lap 5 is third, 0.7 behind Fireball. Fireball is second, 0.5 behind Jason Short. Dave B racing is third, 0.6 behind Fireball. Fireball is second. Best lap is a 146.301. 0.272 off the fastest lap. Dave B racing is P3. Best lap is a 146.574. 0.545 off the fastest lap. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Fireball in turn 3, Essies is P2, 0.4 behind Jason Short. Dave B racing in inner loop is P3, 0.3 behind Fireball. Fireball in turn 6, Laces is second, 0.5 behind Jason Short. Dave B racing in turn 7, Toe is P3, 0.6 behind Fireball. Fireball is P2, 0.6 behind Jason Short. Dave B racing in turn 10 is P3 on mediums, 0.6 behind Fireball. Dave B racing past Fireball for second. The race dictator from New Zealand is fifth, 1.0 behind Wiremew. Wiremew was 1.2 faster last lap. Fireball in turn 1, the 90 is second, 0.6 ahead of Dave B racing. Fireball passed Jason Short for P1. Wiremew is fourth, 0.2 ahead of the race dictator. Fireball in turn 3, Essies is second, 0.2 behind Jason Short. Dave B racing is P3, 0.2 ahead of Wiremew. Dave B racing lost P3 to Wiremew. Fireball is second, 0.6 ahead of Wiremew. Wiremew in turn 7, Toe is P3, 0.4 ahead of Dave B racing. Fireball in turn 8, Heel is second, 0.6 behind Jason Short. Jason Short was 1.1 faster last lap. Wiremu is P3, 0.6 behind Fireball. Fireball on lap 7 is second, 0.7 ahead of Wiremu. Wiremu in turn 2, Essies is P3, 0.4 behind Fireball. Dave B racing in turn 4, Essies is P8, 1.2 behind that Canadian guy. Dave B racing past that Canadian guy for P7. Wiremu in turn 6, Laces is third, 0.7 behind Fireball. 5 minutes remaining in the session. The race dictator is P6, 0.2 behind Chris Butt. Wiremu in turn 8, heel is third. Best lap is a 146.610. 0.581 off the fastest lap. Chris Butt from New Zealand in turn 8, heel is P8 on mediums, 0.4 behind that Canadian guy. Wiremu is third, 0.3 behind Fireball. Fireball from New Zealand is P2, 0.5 ahead of Wiremu. Fireball lost second to Wiremu. Fireball lost third to Toddy Mustang. Fireball lost fourth to the race dictator. Dave B racing in turn 5, outer loop is sixth. Wiremu is P2, 4.1 behind Jason Short. Jason Short was 1.1 faster last lap. Dave B racing in turn 8, heel is sixth, 0.5 behind that Canadian guy. Wiremu in turn 1, the 90 on lap 10 is P2, 3.9 behind Jason Short. Dave B racing on lap 10 is sixth, 0.3 behind that Canadian guy. Fireball in turn 1, the 90 is 8th, 4.3 behind Chris Butt. Dave B racing in turn 5, outer loop on lap 10 is 6th, 2.4 behind that Canadian guy. Fireball from New Zealand is 8th, 2.4 behind Chris Butt. Chris Butt was 29.2 faster last lap. Dave B racing in turn 9 is P6, 2.5 behind that Canadian guy. Fireball in turn 9 on lap 10 is 8th, 1.0 behind Chris Butt. Dave B racing in turn 2, Essies on lap 11 is P6, 2.5 behind that Canadian guy. Chris Butt in turn 2, Essies on lap 11 is 8th, 0.3 behind Fireball. Dave B racing in turn 5, outer loop is 6th, 0.4 behind the race dictator. The race dictator was 0.6 faster last lap. Chris Butt is 8th. Best lap is a 151.340. 6.085 off the fastest lap. The leader has just finished the race. Jason Short from New Zealand finished first. Wiremu finished second. Toddy Mustang finished P3. That Canadian guy finished P4. The race dictator finished 5th. Dave B racing finished 6th. Fireball finished 7th. Chris Butt finished 8th. Broadcast bot is 9th. The race session is at Watkins Glen in Watkins Glen, USA. Chris Butt from New Zealand is P1 on mediums. 20 minutes remaining in the session. Race start. Wyremew in turn 1, the 90 is P2 on mediums. The Race Dictator from New Zealand in turn 4, Essies is third on mediums. Chris Butt in turn 5, outer loop is second. The Race Dictator in turn 6, Laces is P3. The Race Dictator passed Chris Butt for P2. Chris Butt is P3. Jason Short from New Zealand is fourth on softs. Jason Short passed Chris Butt for third. Chris Butt in turn 10 is P4. Fireball from New Zealand in turn 1, the 90 is P5 on softs, 1.1 behind Chris Butt. Toddy Mustang from New Zealand in turn 3, Essies is P7 on mediums, 0.8 behind Dave B Racing. Chris Butt from New Zealand in inner loop is P5, 0.6 behind Fireball. Toddy Mustang is 7th, 0.4 behind Dave B Racing. The Race Dictator in turn 8, heel is second. Best lap is a 156.161. 1.824 off the fastest lap. Dave B Racing from New Zealand in turn 9 is P6 on mediums, 0.6 ahead of Toddy Mustang. Jason Short is third, 0.7 behind the Race Dictator. The Race Dictator in turn 1, the 90 on lap 3 is second, 1.0 behind Wyremew. That Canadian guy from Canada in turn 1, the 90 is P8 on mediums, 0.5 behind Toddy Mustang. The Race Dictator in turn 2, Essies is P2. Best lap is a 149.221. 1.930 off the fastest lap. Jason Short in turn 3, Essies is third, 0.5 ahead of Fireball. Fireball was 1.6 faster last lap. The Race Dictator is second, 0.3 behind Wyremew. 15 minutes remaining in the session. Fireball in inner loop is P3 on softs, 0.2 behind the race dictator. Fireball passed the race dictator for P2. The race dictator in turn 6, laces is third, 0.5 behind Fireball. Fireball is P2, 0.3 behind Wiremew. The race dictator from New Zealand is third, 0.3 ahead of Jason Short. Fireball from New Zealand is second, 0.3 behind Wiremew. The race dictator is P3, 0.5 ahead of Jason Short. Fireball from New Zealand in turn 3, Essies is P2, 0.3 behind Wiremew. The race dictator in inner loop on lap 4 is third, 0.3 ahead of Jason Short. Fireball in turn 6, laces is second, 0.4 ahead of the race dictator. The race dictator in turn 7, toe is third, 0.3 behind Fireball. Fireball in turn 8, heel is second. Best lap is a 1:47.291. The race dictator in turn 10 is third, 0.2 behind Fireball. Fireball is second, 0.5 ahead of the race dictator. The race dictator in turn 3, Essies is third, 0.2 ahead of Jason Short. Fireball in inner loop is second, 0.2 behind Wiremew. The race dictator is third, 0.4 ahead of Jason Short. Fireball in turn 7, toe is second on softs, 0.2 ahead of the race dictator. The race dictator in turn 8, heel is P3, 0.4 ahead of Jason Short. Fireball in turn 10 is second, 0.2 ahead of the race dictator. The race dictator is third, 0.3 behind Fireball. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Fireball in turn 2, Essies is P2, 0.1 behind Wiremew. Fireball lost P4 to that Canadian guy. The race dictator from New Zealand is P2, 0.8 behind Wiremew. Jason Short in turn 5, outer loop is P3, 0.3 ahead of that Canadian guy. The race dictator in turn 6, Laces is P2, 0.4 behind Wiremew. Jason Short is third, 0.5 behind the race dictator. The race dictator from New Zealand in turn 7, Toe is second, 0.4 ahead of Jason Short. Jason Short from New Zealand is third, 0.2 ahead of that Canadian guy. Jason Short passed the race dictator for P2. The race dictator in turn 9 on lap 6 is third, 0.2 ahead of that Canadian guy. Jason Short in turn 11 is second, 0.4 behind Wiremew. That Canadian guy in turn 1, the 90 is fourth, 0.2 behind the race dictator. Jason Short in turn 4, Essies is second, 0.1 behind Wiremew. That Canadian guy in inner loop is P4, 0.2 ahead of Fireball. Jason Short in turn 6, Laces is P2, 0.3 behind Wiremew. The race dictator is third, 0.2 behind Jason Short. Jason Short is P2, 0.2 behind Wiremew. The race dictator is P3, 0.3 behind Jason Short. Jason Short in turn 1, the 90 is P2. Best lap is a 146.432. Jason Short lost P6 to Dave B Racing. Fireball in turn 3, Essies is P2, 0.4 behind the race dictator. The race dictator in inner loop is P3, 0.3 ahead of that Canadian guy. The race dictator is now P2. That Canadian guy is P3, 0.5 behind the race dictator. 5 minutes remaining in the session. The race dictator in turn 7, toe is P2, 0.5 ahead of that Canadian guy. That Canadian guy in turn 8, heel on lap 8 is third, 0.5 ahead of Dave B Racing. Dave B Racing was 0.8 faster last lap. The race dictator in turn 10 is P2 on mediums, 0.7 behind Toddy Mustang. That Canadian guy from Canada is third, 0.5 ahead of Dave B Racing. The race dictator in turn 3, Esses on lap 9 is second, 0.6 behind Toddy Mustang. Toddy Mustang was 2.6 faster last lap. That Canadian guy in inner loop is P3 on mediums, 0.5 behind the race dictator. That Canadian guy passed the race dictator for P2. The race dictator is P3, 0.2 behind that Canadian guy. Dave B Racing in turn 7, toe on lap 9 is P4, 0.9 behind the race dictator. Dave B Racing was 1.1 faster last lap. The race dictator in turn 8, heel is third. Best lap is a 146.434. 0.196 off the fastest lap. Dave B Racing is fourth on mediums, 0.6 ahead of Fireball. The race dictator is third, 0.6 ahead of Dave B Racing. Dave B Racing in turn 2, Esses is P4, 0.6 behind the race dictator. The race dictator is P3 on mediums, 0.5 ahead of Dave B Racing. Dave B Racing was 0.9 faster last lap. Dave B Racing on lap 10 is P4, 0.3 ahead of Fireball. Dave B Racing lost 5th to Jason Short. Fireball in turn 7, toe is 4th. Best lap is a 146.613. 0.768 off the fastest lap. That Canadian guy from Canada in turn 9 is second, 1.2 behind Toddy Mustang. Fireball is fourth, 0.5 behind the race dictator. The race dictator in turn 1, the 90 is P3, 0.3 ahead of Fireball. Fireball in turn 4, Esses is 4th, 0.5 behind the race dictator. Fireball was 1.1 faster last lap. The race dictator in turn 5, outer loop is third, 0.5 ahead of Fireball. Fireball in turn 6, laces is P4. Best lap is a 1:45.814. 0.471 off the fastest lap. The race dictator is third, 0.5 behind that Canadian guy. Fireball in turn 9 is P4, 0.3 behind the race dictator. The leader has just finished the race. Toddy Mustang finished P1. That Canadian guy finished P2. The race dictator finished P3. Fireball finished P4. Jason Short finished 5th. Chris Butt finished P6. Dave B Racing finished 7th. Wiremew finished P8. Broadcast bot is 9th.